Hello and welcome to the second episode of Curry and Dice with Adam and Tim.
Hello again.
That's Adam and I'm Tim. Well, Adam, most importantly, talk me through the curry.
Curry. Well, it came first with the onion bhajis, and I've got to say the onion bhajis for a supermarket fare, very moist, quite flavoursome, and overall I would give that a decent onion bhaji score.
No, I was pleased. They're sort of nugget sized. They're not, they're not those fistful of bhajis that you get in some of the better curry houses, but they were nice. They were tasty, crispy on the outside, cooked nice and easily in with the main curry dish.
They worked,
but the important thing really is contrasting your madras with your chicken tikka. Now, this is a shop bought in a box, instant curry for £7.50, the whole lot. Could you tell the difference?
I could tell the difference, although, interestingly enough, I'm told that chicken tikka masala is very popular. I've never had one before.
Really?
So I don't know whether it was any good, because it was a bit bland, to be honest, but is that what it's supposed to be?
I think that's what it's supposed to be. And are you really saying you've never done that, or you're just being pretentious North London?
No, never done it. Never done it.
Okay.
I'm a bit old fashioned, and I like a balti actually. I like that whole that experience. The madras though, without being amazing, was a decent curry for a curry in a box.
Well, I must admit, I'm sat here thinking it's still in the back of my mouth, and I want a beer, and that's pretty good for a curry.
Yeah.
The other thing that we do need to talk about, naan bread, because shop bought naan bread can be all over.
It can be a disaster.
It can easily be a disaster. It can be too dry, it can be too soggy, but that one. Not quite sure why, but that really seemed to work. Yeah,
it was moist again, without being sort of like that damp, horrible stuff. So so all in all, sundries excellent. The curry serviceable.
Good. No, well, I think as the way you probably categorise it is two blokes talking bollocks about war games online.
Recommended.
Absolutely fantastic. Wife's birthday, maybe not
probably
so much.
Not. Yeah.
No, they will probably skip that one. And on other things that you wouldn't do for your wife's birthday, should we talk about our second game in Burton?
That sounds like a joy to behold.
In fact, whilst we're on the food thing, in between the first game and the second game, we did have the world's biggest and best pork pie.
It was a lovely pork pie.
It was phenomenal. It's just not a London thing, is it? Clearly, given it is from Melton Mowbray.
Yeah.
Did you actually have a pork pie? Or did you have half of someone else's? Because
we shared one.
We shared one, yeah, and it was very shareable. Good crust, but we're getting too foodie here, aren't we? Really.
Although too foodie, but I will give a shout out to Cooper's, the pub that we had it in.
Oh, it's a classic. That's really the reason we went back to Burton. That pub,
and the Burton Slapper.
And the Burton Slapper,
obviously. Yeah. But we can't talk about that.
No, we can't talk about that. That's a different podcast, possibly after the watershed. And you're all listening to it too early for that. So.
But the Cooper's gravity poured, very good ale. I recommend it to anyone in Burton.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of the new era and also the old era. But
the finest pint of Bass I've ever had.
I think we might have scooted in two during lunchtime.
That would be rude not to.
So which was the best, first or second?
Always second. First
always
one, you're a bit of a rush, really, isn't it?
So 2 pints down, and we're in the afternoon.
Looking for an easy plan.
Easy plan. Well, you don't, you want to face something easy, just something that rolls over, possibly troops facing the wrong direction, slam into them with the Romans. And we're playing Three Kingdoms Chinese and Siam Nu.
Something to look forward to. Sounds tricksy.
Well, I think Chinese, they just feel like they're all going to have two-handed cutting weapon. And in Art de la Guerre, that's the magic weapon. Yeah,
and you're going to have lots of blokes sitting on horses with bows, which are also...
You didn't do too well against those in the first game, did you?
Yeah, next time. During between the two games, though, I did actually have a glance at the rules, which usually helps, and figured out that whole "I shouldn't die so quickly" thing.
Yeah, we really should have taken Chinese, but unfortunately, my Chinese are really garishly painted, so I don't really want to wheel them out.
Where did you buy Dayglow acrylic paint?
It just seemed such a good idea at the time when I was still a teenager. No. I don't know. Maybe I just thought there's a wall of just boring, because there was only one Essex troop type for Chinese at that time. It was before all these new army lists had come out, so I think I just wanted to make them noticeable.
They work.
They're noticeable, but enough of that. Let's look at a much better painted Chinese army, and not this one here, Axis and Allies. That's a bit weird, but look at this, some proper terrain. There's actual stuff on this table. Well, on our side of the table anyway.
Which is good. Now going back to the rough terrain commands, we get a wooded hill slap bang at the forward edge of our deployment area, which is more or less exactly where you want it to be. The question is, though, how do you exploit that? Because you've got the hill, well done, but you've got to do something with that commanding position. Otherwise, you've just got lots of troops out on the hill not really doing very much. And I think in this game we used it quite well.
Well, I think that question of how to exploit it, from my point of view, I adopted exactly the same tactic and the same way of answering that question I did in the first game, and I gave the problem to you by giving you that side of the table.
Thank you very much.
That's it. So you were commanding 2 lots of legions over here, and the elephant and auxiliary on the hill. Oh, I ended up with both the
the good stuff.
No. The legions were the good stuff, really. No, okay. I ended up with both the Parthians, which brilliant terrain to use. All those light horse and spread out. And then there's a field here full of Thracians. So our opponents, this was a pretty, this was pretty complicated for us to deal with as a deployment from their point of view. They've skirmished over here. They've got some stuff here that's too small to see. I think those might be cataphracts.
They are. They're allied cataphracts.
Allied cataphracts.
Turns out to be important.
And then this was the solid foot. And I think we knew pretty quickly as soon as they rolled their first dice, they've got a flank march.
Yeah.
And they're either bold as you like and put it here, or it's clearly over this side.
And it's a telegraph flank march, really, isn't it?
March, yeah. So this was our deployment. And I think we started dropping the commands from this order.
Yeah.
And here, you've got these 2 legionaries here. That's quite a big gap. There's probably a flank march coming here. We might not have known it when they finished deploying.
We deployed them cautiously anyhow, and then they finished deploying, and we knew they had a flank march. And
because if I was being hypercritical, which as a double Spartan never happens.
Never.
I'm not entirely sure that enormous gap when these are infantry and there's a flank march coming in fits in that cautious box.
Well, there's 2 things about that. I mean, one is 2 pints of very decent ale, and the second is
the other pint of decent ale
that we're having. One good thing about Burton, and this can't be stressed enough, is they actually do really good ale in the venue. So Burton, thumbs up for that. But the second thing is the glorious tactics I use to deal with our hanging flank.
Okay, well let's roll on and see how that works. Look at this, rough terrain troops in the rough terrain. Look, this is happy. We could just stop this report now. We've achieved our objective. They're safe. Nothing can possibly go wrong. Although that's a bit thin, mate. If the cataphracts can deal with these guys, this lot can possibly get
what you actually mean to say is your rough terrain troops, you're stuck in the rough terrain over on the flank, and they didn't really achieve much all game.
Well, let's move on and see that. But all right. So talking about flanks, so you've hidden this with your hand, but I'm still saying that's the thick end of a foot of empty space, and that's where a flank march is going to come. It's not even going to get stopped by this plastic box, is it?
I'm trying to.
You're just pretending it's not there.
Yeah.
That's the strategy. Okay. Yeah. Big open flank. Here. This is almost a coherent line. Everybody's lurched forwards because there's surprisingly little opposition, and I guess we know by now that these cataphracts are currently unreliable.
Yeah, so they're not going anywhere, which is useful. But the other useful thing about that big wooded hill I was talking about, you need to be able to use it. We actually used it quite well. We used it as a solid flank guard for the legions, and we also used it as a hinge that allowed all the big heavy troops to swing around safely and get stuck into flanks.
That's a very good way of describing what potentially looks like a copy of the first game, with all our heavy troops deployed against virtually nothing, with the ability for it to run away.
The difference here, though, is cataphracts, all the lower, they look like they're on the edge. They're actually in the middle of the table.
Yep.
The first game, they were on the edge of the table. Here, they're in the middle of the table, so they haven't got as far to go to do something useful.
Okay, I'll let you have it. I wonder what that one is. Oh, wow, there's loads of mad Chinese films on YouTube, and they're all brilliant. Enough of it. So you're now running away. Is this you realised your deployment's rubbish and you're trying to fix it? Is this what's happening here?
What I've actually done here is I've suckered him into a pointless flank march, a heavily stacked flank. So you
is that the flank march you decide before you start deployment?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And now I'm redeploying the 2 legionary commands to form a solid, safe flank anchored on the wooded hill and 1, and on the Wargamers end of the world.
You're starting to mumble, aren't you?
No, Wargaming's Ends of the World on the other. Wargaming's Ends of the World, very, very viable tactic.
Looking at this, some might say redeploying, others might say retreating.
That's the outcome's the same, and the outcome the same is a very solid.
And these don't
flank.
exactly look like they're being suckered in by this move, do they? Because they are quite, they're practically still in China.
Well, let's see how far they go and how long it takes them to get there.
Okay. Oh, flank march! Surprise!
Oh, I don't care anymore. I'm back on the table edge.
You're basically where you should have started.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Good.
I am going to turn.
Let's
Those
move on.
troops will turn around soon as well.
Well, I guess they've got enough time to do it because their cowardice has started pretty early, and they're a long way away from the enemy. So
They're just putting the line in the
is
sand.
this is where you should start. Look, there's barely room for a dice.
If you had told me that they had a flank march before we deployed, I would have started there.
But this is your side of the table. You've got to take responsibility for your own forces.
And I did take responsibility, and I did something with them.
Yeah, something.
Let's see how this flank goes. See, oh, look at that, solid.
Oh, that's beautiful.
As Caesar intended, solid line of legionaries saying, "Come and get us."
Here's a visual cue for you. These are the Judean legionaries with the yellow sleeves, the proper Romans with the red. These are the good ones. These are the not so good ones. And all these Chinese troops.
Very good foot.
Apart from this thing that you appear to have left out hanging again. Strategically.
What's the role of skirmish troops?
To die?
To delay and harass. And this game is I need to buy you enough time to get your cataphracts round, so they're out there delaying and harassing.
Okay. Well, yeah. So we've got the map here, pushing forwards on my side aggressively.
Russians doing
you've
nothing.
Retreated. The elephant's kind. Oh, I did remember. Look at that. The elephant's still there, and these cataphracts are still becalmed in the middle there. So here, this small amount of cavalry, they've just run away.
It's the classic squirting out of the way.
So they're sort of doing the same with skirmishing troops as you're doing with legions, but on the other flank, we're pivoting the game to another 4-footer really.
The difference is though, and I think it is an important difference, they've got to keep going backwards. We've now got a solid line to fight on.
That's true actually. This is a nice little bit of terrain anchor as well that they can do nothing about with these light horse. Another mad Chinese film, all got to be good. We're doing a tricksy rules thing here.
Well played.
This is almost buttocks of death in Art to the Guerre. So what happens here is this cataphract unit moves slightly behind this base here. Mm-hmm. Then this cataphract unit charges into it. Normally, they'd evade, but you can't evade if you've got enemy troops within a base width directly to your rear. So they, unable to evade, get hit by cataphracts with an overlap in the open.
All that happened there was you thought you could keep them too far forwards.
Basically, and all it is just one base, but it's a lesson that that buttocks of death thing is a pain, but you learn it once and then you've learnt it,
and then you just keep them an extra inch back.
So they're still retreating. These are going off this way. There's a little bit of shooting, and
where is this?
This is right on the fair flank. These rough terrain troops have come all the way through that second piece of rough terrain, and are really pushing the flank. But with those cavalry over there, these guys are pretty safe because the light troops can't run them down.
By pretty safe, you mean out of the game?
Well, they're doing threatening things. Look, let's just move on and see if we even get to any interesting parts of your game. So, okay. Oh, look, here's that elephant again.
Now, what's happening here is now your cataphracts have got round the hill. The rough terrain troops with the elephant have got a gap at the end of the line that their line's about to hit the legionaries, trying to hit the legionaries. So there's a gap there for that rough terrain command to insert them into.
There's a gap there which, if the enemy come forward, these guys have got. There's a gap here, but with these cataphracts being uncommitted, that's all they've got to shove into it. Yeah. So, yeah, that's not too bad, is it? They're very very strung out. That's the end of your skirmishes. They're done with that skirmishing thing.
They lasted, funnily enough, they lasted 2 or 3 rounds in hand-to-hand combat. They did quite well. They were super frustrating for the opponent. So
2 or 3 rounds is nearly a pint.
Isn't it? So yeah, we all laughed.
Okay. So here they've really retreated. We've gone. This is a 4-foot wide board.
That's half the table.
That's more than half the table. So yeah, these guys are almost in touchdown distance. That's the rough terrain command. There's only a few lights there. The cataphracts are pressing the cavalry. We've got light horse shooting up to cause markers there. This is the interesting part of the table. Stuff here that's not cataphracts threatening them. That's the baggage, and that's the other piece of baggage. So there's a potential touchdown in there if we can shove the right troops into it. And this elephant, any ideas? Just driving random? Is he? No.
He's driving forwards, I believe, towards cataphracts.
Towards this big enemy formation here.
No, he's facing the other way, isn't he?
Is it? No, no, that's his trunk, isn't it? I think he's going that way. Well, look, if you can't really remember it, maybe this is a 4-point move.
It was a glorious victory. Oh,
lovely! Look at that line of troops. They're nearly in.
Well, no, this, and again, this is actually quite a handy piece of play. Yeah,
actually step forward.
Because he was desperately trying to get forward to attack us on his flank before his flank here collapsed. So where he was delayed by the skirmish is actually he's coming in piecemeal, so he's coming in bit by bit, which gave an opportunity to actually go in with overlaps against his not so good troops. Because behind my arm here, there's more troops.
Behind your arm, yeah, that's what we're saying. Yeah,
underneath the arm there,
yeah,
there's actually more troops. So this is exploiting an opportunity where he got himself too far forward, so we could go and give him a slap.
So we've sort of wheeled the whole table. We're fighting on this sort of frontage quite coherently.
Yeah.
And the cataphract's still uncommitted. That was so well. That's just pure good fortune.
Yeah.
No two ways about that. So this shows it a bit better, doesn't it? Yeah. So they've come from all the way from over here, but
they got there early,
and you've just stepped up to engage them before they can really get in.
Indeed.
That's just a flank march. You've got your weaker legionaries against that. You're conducting. It's almost like an orchestral.
Yeah, it worked out beautifully.
It's just beautiful, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic. Another one. All good stuff.
I do recommend them though. A bit crazy.
So these guys have got little weird hats on. So was there something here? Have you just
no, this is my legionary. So this is the end of the legionary fight.
This is the end of the legionary fight.
Yeah. That's so this is where I've stepped forward. This is us, and this is just a big gap that we've stepped into.
So there's nobody dead here. They're just.
There just was nothing there. The cataphracts were unliable.
Are you thinking? Do I chew them? Do I roll into this?
There's targets of opportunity all over the place. To be honest, yeah.
Okay. So this is back at the far side of the table. So they've just been overwhelmed here by sheer numbers of units. In a pit-based game, if you get one, this is 2 commands, almost 3 commands worth of troops. So there's 3 sets of dice helping move all our troops here. This is just 1 set of dice, and they're trying to get these guys out of trouble. They're trying to fall back. They've just run out.
So you managed to use 3 commands worth of troops to take out 4 enemy units.
They all count.
They do.
We'll see. We'll see as this game
and you did outnumber him about 18 to 1.
I suppose you could be right. Yeah. And you've used 2 commands worth of troops just to form a line.
As Caesar intended.
I guess as Caesar intended. So actually, your legions must be look at the markers. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
They're heavy legionaries. Some of them are elite. They do chop. Now, what they're fighting is a medium foot with a 2-handed weapon, and the 2-handed weapon is fairly scary, but
only against spears and pikes.
But I've got full fat legionaries there, so that's a good fight to have, really.
And these guys appear to have bird's eye peas squashed onto their heads.
He's been using some of your Dago paint.
Actually, no, my Chinese are a lot brighter than that.
Yeah.
But I can see where you're going on that one. So you've actually chewed through all of them now, stepped forward again, and that you're trying to fight the second line. I think that's one of yours that's gone through. You're winning here. There's markers left, right, and centre. They're just steaming forwards and being proper legions.
Here, this was his main attack. Really put it in piecemeal, and it got chopped up. And we're winning where we're attacking. We're winning where we should have been defending. So game's going well so far.
Okay. So over here, this looks like the cataphracts have finally. I think we might have actually triggered them to get engaged.
We
just got bored, and we moved within 6 inches or 6 movement distances, and they became real. And then all of a sudden, we've got 3 cataphracts against 4. Looks like we're throwing away a spearman or an auxiliary or something there in order to get into these squishier troops without and just keep these
protecting a flank.
And the elephant is.
So even though he couldn't move his cataphracts, you've managed to get into a fight where he outnumbers you in cataphracts.
Well, I think this elephant's yours, isn't it? Because that was supposed to be the secret ingredient, but it's just been roaming around the table.
Yeah, you're supposed to be behind it, not in the head of it. But no, carry on. That's getting into an outnumbered fight against troops that couldn't move. That's rare skill.
And just moving the elephant completely into a gap where there weren't even any of our troops. Never mind.
Second line to exploit any breakthroughs.
Doubles is such a good game, isn't it?
Don't you love it?
That's the best part of it. So here we go. Look at this. This used to be a block of 4 of our light horse. We're engaging the cavalry here. We're engaging stuff here. There's a gap that 2 of them have run through. One of them's already into one of their baggage elements. The other one's rushing up here.
all over him. I think
it's all over him like a cheap suit. Boom, they've gone straight through. This is starting to die off. Whether this is actually technically even still there, I'm not sure. And we're swinging around and crushing them in the middle. So you were still, how did this sort of feel? Were you very conscious that you chopped the first line up, but you didn't? Did you feel you had enough troops still left to take on the second line?
It was always risky, even going into the first line. It felt like a bit of risk, but it went well. And then it's, I think by this point of the game, we're just trying to close it down now, and we're looking for those few extra units. So going into the flank, doing this, doing that. So it's losing its coherency because we're looking to close out.
So we're both just trading off. Because a straight trade off will still see us over the finish line.
Yeah, willing to lose troops if we can take them.
How many of these films are there? Right. Chewing up, overwhelming. That's just 2 units coming into one.
Front and flank, blah blah,
wasn't it? Happening everywhere. And that's a slightly better photograph that's in focus there of the still people doing it. And getting into baggage is great because if you read any of my other battle reports, this normally happens to me.
Yes, so you should know the rules.
I should know the rules.
That's it, yeah. Luckily, you don't know the rules about it.
No, I wasn't particularly great about it. So you can get stuck looting baggage. These guys were desperately rolling dice in order to get away from looting the baggage before they got clattered by enemy light horse here. And fortunately, they just did it in the nick of time and went herring after the second piece of baggage in the game. So this was the thing you were telling me was not very good about my 3 cataphracts against 4 of the enemy. That seems to have worked out all right.
Yeah, the elephant came and saved you. Look.
We'll move on. Right. So here we've really just taken all the way over here. We've got a nice 4-foot line that they've been sort of defeated piecemeal. We're chewing up the end pieces in this, and that is a total knockout. Big scoring system. It's effectively 3 points for a win, but so complicated you need a spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
But something about each 5% you lose. So a big win after our narrow defeat, and
after our
drawing narrow defeat, and from that we were just well teed up for the evening's curry and beer,
which is something to look forward to.
Indeed, and even Hannibal struggled a little bit to be negative, but then again, if we'd actually had proper cavalry, we could have wrapped that up much more quickly. Excellent. Well, into the next game.